do you ever think about the amount of information that your smartphone actually collects? Because, I mean, even as someone in this space, very rarely do I reflect on like, oh, cool, I have this feature now, which means they can track me within feet.
Before I got into my more recent roles, I was in the mobile security space for a few years, and so I was deep into it. And, you know, we're talking like the end of the BlackBerry days, the early iOS, early Android days. And it's terrifying. These computers in our pockets, our smartphones, they are infinitely more powerful and carry, in many cases, more valuable data than our computers do. Welcome to Cybersecurity Growth, a show for aspiring and existing cybersecurity leaders. I am your co-host, Shawn Valley, founder and chief strategist of Cybersecurity Growth. I'm also a musician here on Twitch and elsewhere under the name Music by SV, but more on that later. Welcome to episode number 28. And hello to my co-host, Garrett Gross.
Oh, hi there. I didn't see you.
Hi, Garrett. Happy Friday to you. Happy New Year. And what a good time. You know, if anybody saw the pre-roll of what we've been doing for the last 20 minutes, you would understand why we are acting the way we are. But here we are. Garrett, anyways, Happy New Year to you. I hope you're having a good start of January. And,
so far, so good.
As you reminded me a few minutes ago when no one else could hear you, it's a holiday weekend. Let's get started. I want to shout out some of our new followers since the last time we got together on our last show. I think we've seen something like 265 folks follow us on YouTube. I am humbled and extremely thankful and glad that some folks are finding some value in this, whether you're learning something or you're laughing at and or with us. Appreciate you being here.
Either is fine.
Yeah. Okay, but we're on Twitch, and I think Twitch we're over 200 followers now, and a few folks have followed us on Twitch in the last couple weeks. So first, I want to say hello to Tadazen. Thank you for the follow.
Valiant effort.
I want to say hello to it's Spiegelfetcher. It's got to be that. I want to say hello to Paulo. No, there's one more. Super Nothing.
Super Nothing. That's a good one.
Thank you for the follows, everybody. Appreciate you all being here. All right, before we get into other things, but hey, Garrett, who are you wearing today?
Well, this is a bespoke couture piece from a little outfit out of Boston, Massachusetts called Rapid 7.
I've heard of them.
We've discussed them a couple times. They make some good tools out there. Both Shawn and I spent some time there at Rapid 7, and I got this little number by being in a very special group called VRM. I'm legally not allowed to discuss what that means, but it's a very high-profile group with a lot of great people that I got to work with.
I immediately think it's some type of a virtual reality meetup.
Yeah.
Something like that. Anyways, that's very cool. There's folks who've watched the show realize there's a lot of Rapid 7 swag that the two of us have in our t-shirt drawers and our hoodie.
30% of my wardrobe.
Yeah.
Well, I'll turn the mic back on you and hey there, Shawn Valley. Nice to see you on the red carpet. Can you tell us who you're wearing this evening?
Today I am wearing Traceable. So I picked up this shirt this past summer at Black Hat. And Traceable, if you're not familiar with them, I was actually watching one of their webinars yesterday, so I thought it'd be, hey, why don't I wear their shirt that I picked up at Black Hat? They do API security stuff, so API security is definitely is one of the hotnesses out of 2024 and into 25, and that's kind of where their focus is at.
I like the "Catch Me If You Can" reference. That's pretty cool.
Trace me if you can, but
it
is kind of like the "Catch Me If You Can" logo there.
Is your business prepared for today's cyber challenges? At Cybersecurity Growth, we don't just offer consulting. We provide trusted, real-world expertise to protect what matters most to your organization. From cybersecurity assessments to strategic roadmaps, Cybersecurity Growth brings the experience you need to turn security challenges into lasting strengths. We've helped companies navigate critical incidents and build strategies to reduce future risk. For example, when a mid-sized tech company that we partner with faced a data breach, we worked with their team to contain the threat, restore operations, and implement measures to strengthen their defenses for the future. Because of our level of comprehensive care and rapid response, we're trusted by clients across tech, finance, and life sciences to provide the guidance they need to secure their business and safeguard their customers. Ready to protect your business? Visit cybersecuritygrowth.com/contact for a free consultation.
We are going to focus the next few minutes on Nerd Zone, and this is fun because you brought all of these topics and we didn't even get a chance to review them together. So Garrett, you brought the Nerd Zone for us this week, so why don't you get us started, and I'll chime in where I can, but this is all fresh to me.
You bet. You bet. So we've got two to talk about. We might fish for some more if we have a little bit extra time. But the first one involves a company that I think has the silliest name I've heard in a long time, which is Gravy Analytics.
I've never heard the name. Are they
Gravy Analytics? Well, you're about to hear about them because they provide
I hear like a lot of like analysis type firms, analytics firms. Like I've heard of a bunch. This is a new name to me.
So hackers came out to say that they have breached Gravy Analytics and scraped data from Tinder, Spotify, Citymapper, Mumsnet, no idea what that is. Maybe that's an overseas thing. And Sky News were among hundreds of companies that they named.
Those are 4 out of my 5 most used websites.
I mean, those are very big very big apps and sites. Hackers appear to have targeted a U.S. location tracking firm, Gravy Analytics. They collect information through smartphones, including people's precise movements, and then provides it to other companies or governments. Let's pause there for a second. Let's talk about, do you ever think about the amount of information that your smartphone actually collects? Because, I mean, even as someone in this space, very rarely do I reflect on like, oh, cool, I have this feature now, which means they can track me within feet of where I'm at.
It's terrifying. And I before I got into my more recent roles, I was in the mobile security space for a few years, and so I was deep into it. And, you know, we're talking like the end of the BlackBerry days, the early iOS, early Android days. And It's terrifying. These computers in our pockets, our smartphones, they are infinitely more powerful and carry, in many cases, more valuable data than our computers do. And again, following every step we take. And many of our applications who say I'm going to, you know, who have the GPS API enabled in the application, they are collecting every step we take.
You remember back in the day when you would triangulate, or we'll step back a second, when you would watch a movie and they would triangulate a cell phone or location via a couple of cell phone signals, and that would kind of give you an approximation of where someone might be. Mm-hmm. Today, that's a moot point. You've got very, very finite granular details on your position thanks to, you know, GPS and other context that we can glean from that, to where the one thing that struck me, and I'm realizing that I sound kind of like a fuddy-duddy saying this, but like when I started using some of the rideshare apps, and it would actually show me exactly where I was at, not like here you're within a 20 square foot area. Like, no, you're right here. And if I move from the front of the hotel where I'm getting picked up to the side of the hotel, it moves with me. That type of positioning data is pretty scary in the wrong hands. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, interesting. So, like these apps here, right? If you think about it, okay, Citymapper. If you're looking at maps, okay, that's valuable. But most likely, the most valuable map apps show where you are on a map, so you can find the location you're going. So obviously, that needs your location data to be, to be successful. And so I made a joke earlier that these are my most, popular used websites. I've actually not heard of most of these. Citymapper. I have no clue what Citymapper is.
Must be UK.
I mean, you can imagine what it is, right? It's going to be something where you're probably a traveler in a new city. Maybe you're traveling for business or for pleasure, and you're trying to figure out how to get to hotspots in a certain area. Right. So you download the local app that has kind of localized destinations, and the application requires your location service. Otherwise, the thing can't even run. It's useless.
Yep.
It's really interesting to hear that, our location data, and if, again, all of those coordinates are extremely useful for someone who's trying to do some type of targeted attack, some sort of, what we don't know yet, but some sort of targeted attack. That data, following a specific person that's a target, that's a target rich individual, yeah, it's terrifying.
What's interesting about this one is, this is probably a lesson on like, do your homework, attribution, stuff like that. Let me just kind of restate what I said. The threat actors have claimed that they've grabbed this data from Gravy Analytics and gotten data from users using these different apps. Right. More than 10 terabytes of data is thought to have been stolen, with some Russian-speaking hackers sharing a sample of the stolen information on a well-known hacking forum. Here's the interesting part. Almost all of the vendors named in the breach have disavowed relationships with Gravy Analytics. Tinder, Spotify, Sky News, they've all come out and said, we don't use Gravy Analytics. So I don't know how they would have gotten this data. So again, we're kind of in the middle of this, breach notification kind of disclosure journey. So it'll be interesting to see how that one pans out.
Yeah. Could this be some type of, could this be a third, a fourth party relationship where,
exactly.
I'm going to name a name now, but I don't, when we cut this up and share pieces of it, I don't mean this company specifically. Like, could a Google, right? So Google, they own obviously Google Maps. They also own Waze, which most people know. So a company who has the richest map data in the world, could they possibly use a Gravy Analytics as a third party to them to do some I couldn't expect Google would, because Google, being one of the greatest, tech companies on the planet, they probably built they have their own analytics team. But what about some other company, maybe Apple or maybe someone else?
To your point, they bought Waze. So like at one point they made the decision that we're going to...
Could it have been a leftover to a Waze or something like that?
Something like that. So anyway, this is one, just again, to reiterate, I'm not reporting that these companies' information has been breached, but the threat actors have. So it's kind of interesting. We'll see how that one pans out.
Give me the link to this. I'll make sure I put it in the show notes so folks can research it themselves. Not right now, but when we're done, we can post that in the show notes.
I will.
That in itself is really interesting. So hackers are claiming they took all the data from Gravy Analytics. We've never heard of Gravy Analytics. They are supposedly an analytics backend to a bunch of big known companies like Tinder, Spotify, and others. Yet these companies are saying we don't use Gravy Analytics. So they are likely a third party to someone else, which would make them a fourth party if true. Let's keep following this one. Let's see if we learn more about it over the next couple of weeks.
This could also be a massive troll to get dum-dums like me to say Gravy Analytics over and over again. Who knows?
And look at us. Here we are. We're 8 minutes into this conversation, and here we are repeating this name.
I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on for a second. What if people are salting news stories with certain verbs and or certain words to where, threat actors know they can then harvest that audio and video and use that in a language learning model to develop a type of spoofing on video or audio. Not me, not you. We're nothing. But imagine getting some special phrase on the nightly news, and you can now harvest that and use that as part of your campaign. Like, oh, we're just missing this one word. I mean, again, I don't know how that kind of speech synthesis stuff types works, but it's interesting.
Here's what's interesting: of the 5 different companies you named, one of the companies is Sky News, and where you got this report from was the sky.com website. So news.sky.com is where this story came from. So I would think they wouldn't be reporting on this if there was not, some legitimate
isn't that weird? Well,
this.
That also shows you how, like, I don't know if I'm using this the right way, but commoditized news is. Like, they just kind of like shuffle stuff in and probably didn't even notice that they were named in this breach, which again,
we're talking about ourselves here. Like sometimes like when there's like a nasty incident at CNN, Fox News reports on it, but CNN doesn't, right? So they oftentimes, the news agencies don't like to talk about the bad news that happens in their own organization, but their competitors do. But here it is, Sky News talking about their own incident.
That's wild. All right,
we'll keep following this.
Moving on. One of the world's biggest telecommunications networks, Telefonica, operating out of Spain. I think they've got like 12 countries that they do business in. So, it's not AT&T, it's not, Deutsche Telekom, but it's a big one. Stolen credentials hackers stole some credentials. My favorite thing, the human's weakest link, allowed them to access Telefonica's ticketing infrastructure. Now, here's the problem. It was their Jira instance, which those of us that have worked in software companies understand that Jira usually houses development projects and, all context and details thereof.
Lots of folks would say Jira is not a critical system, but in reality, it's one of the most critical systems because it has all of your project management for all of your big projects. It has all of the documentation for the products, your software products that are being built, maybe hardware, whatever you build as a product. That's where that's where all the communications and documentation live, and oftentimes that's usually connected to your code repos, and a lot of times there's code living in your Jira too.
Now, hopefully, people are being fastidious and safe about this, and they're storing keys and other secrets elsewhere, but as we've seen before, not everyone does that. Some people stick sensitive information in these Jira tickets or link out to other Atlassian properties, Confluence, or I can't even think of the other ones out there. But this is a potentially bad one. They reported that only, which is so funny that we talk like this in 2025, only 2.3 gigabytes of internal data has been leaked has been leaked. But again, if that's the right data, that's a lot. Okay. Now here's the really interesting part, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one. They leaked this data without contacting Telefonica. This was not a ransom campaign. This wasn't like, hey, we've got your data. Here's the proof. Pay us, $28 billion or whatever. They just leaked it online, which is very interesting.
There's so much to unpack here, right? We are in the age of the cyber warfare where folks are looking to get paid, right? We are in the era where, ransomware is obviously the thing you look at, and extortionware, which is basically the same. It's the bad guys are looking to get paid, right? We're going to do some type of cyber attack in the hopes that we get some money. We're going to do our own research as the bad guy to find out how much your company's worth and likely how much money you probably have, and then we're going to tell you how much we want you to pay to undo the problems we've done here. What this breach is talking about is kind of like what I think of as the old breach, which is, where bad guy comes in to demonstrate that they have the ability to do this.
That's right.
Or if someone has an axe to grind with a company or a person who they have problems with, they go and hack and then they leak their data because they want to expose them, right? If you think of, what was it? It was, what was the cheaters website, like Holly Madison or something like that, like a bunch of years ago?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Right, where the bad guys weren't looking.
Madison.
Ashley Madison.
Yeah.
Like the bad guys leaked this data of basically a cheating website. You want to cheat on your significant other, register here. I'm sure a lot of people that watch our show know what we're talking about. But if
you're in security, you know about
it. But they didn't do this to get paid, right? It wasn't a ransomware or an extortionware. They didn't like the company. They didn't like what the company stood for.
That's right.
And so they basically wanted to kind of say, okay, we have the technical ability to do bad things to your company, but we want to bring your company down. Right. So I think that's what's interesting here. When someone just leaks the data, it's not someone who's trying to get money. It's someone who's trying to tell a different story.
And that's quite the angle. Honestly.
Going back to Jira, talking about Jira and where credentials are stored. Garrett and I have lived this world in multiple organizations where your project management tools, somehow your engineers think that your project management tools are a fine place to store credentials, like in plain text. And if you are in any type of security role at a company and your company uses Jira, which is most places, if you haven't done a project yet to scan Jira and scan Confluence for credentials, search for passwords, search for password type combinations, you should make a project to go ahead and do that. It is extremely common that engineers are storing secrets, keys, passwords, passphrases in plain text in your Jira, in your Confluence, and other tools along those lines. So, another thing to keep in mind when you hear a hack that's targeting Jira, you should go and do that type of scan on a regular basis. By the way,
Yeah.
look for secrets in your project management tools and your wiki tools.
Yeah, because again, most people that are they have good security awareness. They're not going to store anything too sensitive in there, but and that's, it's compartmentalized, and that's we won't go down that rabbit hole, but a lot of people don't. We've seen that before, where someone's Jira instance gets blown open and all of a sudden you have all the keys of the kingdom. The last bit on this that I think was very interesting is that this attack, linked via the threat actors that were involved, is linked to the Hellcat ransomware campaign, which, if you remember...
I don't know this one. By name, I don't remember this one.
Hellcat is... I don't want to get into attribution because, we'll just leave it at that. The Hellcat ransomware campaign is the one that stole about 40 gigabytes from Schneider Electric recently, if you remember the Schneider Electric breach. So again, I'm not sure if they are linked by, intent, or it's a global campaign, but 3 out of the 4 threat actors that were identified in the Telefonica breach were involved in this Hellcat ransomware campaign. So just shows you that we'll just say the countries that have less laws around hacking are alive and well, and they are very active at the moment. You can imagine the global climate is pretty tense. I'm sure they've been given the go-ahead by private or public entities to just go and wreak havoc, which that's what they're doing currently.
Well, this one came from hackread.com, so we'll keep following this one because it's really interesting. I want to find out more. I want to learn more of when some attribution comes about. Yeah, what was the rationale behind this one?
Right. Yeah, I'd love to know exactly what the rationale is, why. But again, just keep in mind, and not that I'll admit to this on a live stream, but sometimes hacking is just hacking to do it. Sometimes it's just, I just want to do it. You look at a lot of the hacks.
This you may agree with this, or this may kind of align with you. I think about when I got into this industry long time ago, that was kind of a reason to want to be here. Hacking was fun. It was kind of fun to be the defender when your hackers were just hacking because they could, right? And it was like, okay, we're going to defend against people who are just trying to demonstrate their technical prowess and their technical prowess online. And so it was a different world. Obviously now it is truly cyber warfare today.
It truly is. Financial or political motivations. But yeah, back in the day, it was just like, you look at the Chaos Computer Club. One of their core tenets was just information should be free and available to everyone. And,
right.
Resulted in, and again, different climate back then. I think we're getting off track on that one, but it's interesting to kind of understand the motivations of these attacks. One to follow if you're interested in following breaches.
Yeah, good news. Garrett, did you have anything else for Nerd Zone today?
Those are the only 2 that I had on the docket. There's always plenty of stuff to talk about, but I think that's probably good for today.
That's all right. That's good. I was thinking about what we had planned for today, but certain things that will carry over for the next time we get together.
We can tease it. Yeah.
Today we were going to get deep into RTO, Return to Office. And just from a technical and a time perspective, we're just going to push it to the next time. But we have a whole agenda for the topic of RTO, and I'm certain every single person who listens and watches our show here is involved in this discussion one way or another. So we're excited about it. It's really interesting, Garrett. I was, oddly enough, I think it was yesterday, listening to one of the many cybersecurity podcasts I listened to, and the topic was RTO. I was like, wait, what? Did they hear that we were working on this over the last couple of weeks, and they quickly put one together?
Yes. We're bugged. We've been compromised.
Bugged. We have. To me, the flattery, Yeah. But we will. Next time we get together, we will go deep into RTO. And then, Garrett, I was thinking show after that, maybe we do resume workshop number 2. We are ready to do resume workshops 2 and 3, and they seem to be pretty popular with some of our viewers. So I think we get the next couple shows queued up.
I think RTO will be a pretty meaty topic. Again, not to get into it, but it presented a lot of challenges for us in security, especially as we've evolved into more of this hybrid workforce where you got some folks at home, some folks coming into the office, some folks like me that are at home and go into the office. So it presents a lot of challenges, especially when you talk about things like authentication, authorization, things of that nature. It made things a lot trickier. And Sean, I don't know if you would agree with me, but I think we're still in the middle of figuring out how best to do security in this new reality.
Yeah, I think we're actually still a long ways away from figuring out what the future is. I think
Oh, absolutely.
pre-COVID, I was a four day a week person in the office, sometimes five, and that was me. That was my schedule. And then COVID hit, and I was like, I kind of miss being in the office. And then all of a sudden, I got extremely comfortable never, ever being in the office. But I'm definitely one of those people who, like, I actually enjoy in-office time. And I know many of my colleagues really don't want it. And anyways, I think it'd be a great topic for us to go, like, real deep. And honestly, I feel like even just the two of us, we're going to go back and forth on what we like, what we dislike about it. And I expect our audience to chime in on this as well.
Yep. Nope. I hear you.
So we'll work on that next. That'll be our next show. Stay tuned as we get that scheduled, and then we'll do a resume workshop after that. So I'm pretty excited for the next couple of shows, and we'll just keep things going forward. Also, in the coming weeks, we will do an alpha run, not a beta run, but we'll do an alpha run of one of the cybersecurity courses that I've been developing.
Oh, yes.
So after one of our upcoming shows, I'll actually just play an alpha of the course for our viewers here. It won't make it to the YouTube or the podcast land, but we'll just run through it just to share one of the many things we're working on for 2025. I want to thank everybody for watching, for listening, however you're bringing the show in, whether it's live on Twitch, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's in podcast land. If your company would like to become a sponsor of this here Cybersecurity Growth show, please reach out to us at sales@cybersecuritygrowth.com. I am Sean Valley, the creator of the show and the music here on Cybersecurity Growth. You can check us out at cybersecuritygrowth.com. You can check out all of our shows at cybersecuritygrowth.com/webcasts. You can find us online at most of the social places under @cybersecuritygrowth. If you like the show, please tell your friends. If you hate it, please tell your adversaries. Please like, subscribe, leave 5 stars wherever you're listening. Maybe leave a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. I haven't seen a single review in either of those places, so if you're on there, please leave us a review. Maybe go to YouTube, leave a review like, hey, great show. I learned something new to help me in my cybersecurity career, something along the lines of, hey, I learned that I shouldn't store my passwords in Jira any longer. Something like that. Garrett, you don't do much of the social media as I do, so but I want folks to know where they can catch you. So where can people find you, Garrett?
You can find me floating back and forth between my home office and the corporate office, slowly returning to office maybe 1, maybe 2 times, or swimming through gravy trying to secure all of my Jira instances and scrubbing sensitive data from them.
I'm watching you like on your powered scooter going from home to office. That's the best way to find him. Yep.
Yeah.
Usually with the helmet with like the fake mohawk hair on it, that's Garrett.
Or the cat ears.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be me.
Garrett.
Come up and say hi for sure.
Please do. Great. This week we covered Nerd Zone. Garrett, thank you for bringing those topics.
You bet.
We are live on Twitch usually every other week, Fridays at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, 7:30 a.m. Pacific, and 3:30 p.m. GMT. And we're in YouTube and your pod feeds a few days later. Garrett, thanks for making some time for hanging out this Friday. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And thanks, everybody, for joining us.
Thanks, Sean. Take care.
See you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Atotozen. Spiegel. I see elf in there. Spiegel Fetcher. But that's a tough one. A lot of letters in that one. It ends in something and David. All right, hello.
Someone's going to mess with us and put up like, see more butts or something, and we're going to totally read that off, I'm sure.
Well, no, I can't even keep it together when I read these. It's getting worse every week.
And scene.
super, super nothing. Oh,
And just to be clear, we're not making fun of anyone's name.
No.
I'm making fun of Sean's inability to read words.
I cannot read words, and it is becoming more. You would think
So
after
great.
the
So
more we
great.
do this show, the better I would get at reading.
No, not a chance.
Some would call it degressing. I don't know if that's a real word, so I'll call it regressing.
Yeah, we'll call it regressing.
I'm definitely not gressing. That's for sure.
Degaussing, maybe? I don't know.
Oh, Garrett. Oh, my.